Story 1. His messenger chats with my mom were frequent. He often joked with her and would always ask about me, inquiring about my personality as a child, my energy levels, and how to care for me. My mom had cancer and passed away in 2023, but their last messages to each other included him assuring her that he would take care of me in the way she wanted. Story 2. A few years ago, I was adding items to the grocery list on my wife's phone. The app opened to the most recent list, which was a copy of her wedding vows with the promises she made to me, such as supporting my dreams and being my partner in adventures. Next to each vow was a list of ideas that matched, including things we had done recently. We were going through a rough patch at the time, and seeing that list strengthened my resolve to work through it. Story 3. I like how half of these are the most wholesome content you've ever read, while the other half consists of absolute horror stories. Story 4. A couple of months into dating a girl, I was sitting in the passenger seat of her car, waiting for her to come back from running inside her house when I saw a text come through on her phone that said, "Happy anniversary, baby. Can't wait to see you tonight." So that ended. Story 5. A folder with pictures of me, mostly showing me making silly faces, sleeping or eating, but not on dates or anything. It showed me that he values my comfort and existence much more than being perfectly presented all the time. Story 6. Not his phone, but my late husband's tablet. A year after he died, I was clearing his tablet of content and saw he had a Twitter account. I read through his posts and came across one that brought me to tears for the rest of the day. He had responded to a thread about keeping women in their place. He posted a long rant about how being married for 35 years to a woman who never tired of learning and who always stayed interested in new things was the best thing in his life. He emphasized that a smart, thoughtful woman kept his life interesting and exciting. I always knew he felt this way, but seeing him express this to a total stranger online, in a forum he thought I would never see, was overwhelming for a few days. We were friends for 45 years, best friends for 43 years, and married for 37 years. He died 3.5 years ago, and the void in my life is just as large as the day he passed away. I'm not languishing or yearning to follow him anytime soon, but I miss him tremendously. Story 7. He handed me his phone while driving so I could text his mom for him. When I unlocked his phone, it opened to a note that listed everything I had ever mentioned that I liked, titled Gift Ideas. One of the items was something I had seen in a shop window and thought was cute, but we just kept walking. It made me feel so loved to know that he paid attention to every tiny detail. We're married now. Story 8. I went through my partner's phone after he passed away from cancer last year. I had to find contact numbers for a few friends who were not on the funeral list we made. In his notes app, I found phrases he used in his letters to me, as we often wrote to each other when he was in the hospital and visiting times were short. English was not his first language, and I hadn't realized how hard he had practiced to express what he wanted to say. I sent myself a copy of those notes and look at them often. Story 9. I saw my wife keeps an application for reminders of everyone's birthdays and significant dates in our relationship. She also has a collection of photo montages she created of us together. I never question her love and devotion to me. Story 10. We have been together since 2017. I had a gut feeling to check his phone, but he was always guarded about it. One day, he fell asleep with YouTube open. I looked through his Instagram and discovered that for the past 6 months, he had been in a group chat with 2 other people, sending each other videos of using the restroom in diapers and exchanging pictures of feet, all for amounts of money that never exceeded $10. I have no idea how to approach this situation. Story 11. Notes kept to track how long it has been since we last had a fight, when to initiate the next one if we haven't had one by then, and potential topics to argue about. She didn't believe in a relationship lasting more than 4 weeks without a conflict. Additionally, there is a list of my passwords that she managed to uncover. Story 12. I gathered proof that she was cheating by recording a video on my phone. I then confronted her, revealing that I knew she was cheating, but I did not disclose how I knew. She confessed to cheating with someone completely different from the person I had evidence of. It was a wild experience. Story 13. She left a Facebook Messenger conversation between her and her friend open on her computer. I would use her computer when I was in class, but she complained about how much time I spent at her apartment and said that I was smothering her by always being around. I was surprised by this because she would have a breakdown and accuse me of abandoning her when I left to stay at my own place for a few days. Story 14. She told her colleagues and friends that she divorced me because I was abusive. That was not true. She simply wanted to socialize freely without being judged by pretending to be single. No one ever asked me. I just got blocked. Story 15. I noticed her phone ding and, as I was nearby, I saw a message about a date she had been on. We had not been on any dates. It really tore apart the trust one had in her. Story 16. My husband changed his phone password to my name within 3 months of us dating. He didn't tell me, and I only realized one day when I needed to unlock his phone and asked. I had trust issues going into our relationship, so it was a shock that someone would use my name for anything. We have now been together for 7 years, and I'm still his password. Story 17. Notes app with a list about me, including favorite movies, flowers I would like to receive, shoe size, and various other details. There were categories such as potential gifts to buy, what to do if I am upset, information about my seasonal depression, and coping strategies. It was nearly 3 pages long and titled My Love. I have fallen in love even more. It shows he is serious about me and willing to put in effort. Story 18. My fiancé and I have a really chill relationship. We respect that phones are private, so we don't snoop, but we use each other's phones all the time for things like a flashlight or to look up a number. I was asking about something, and he said to look it up and passed his phone. I went to Google and it opened his last tab. He had been looking at engagement rings. I clicked on another tab and searched for something else to try to hide that I'd seen it. I never confessed that I had seen it, but it surprised me. I knew pretty early on that I wanted to spend my life with him, and we'd had casual conversations, but I'm a natural skeptic. Seeing that really solidified in my worried mind that he wasn't lying when he said he loved me. Story 19. The way she talked about me to everyone, her mom, her friends, and complete strangers online was hurtful. She called me pathetic, stupid, a failure, an annoyance, and a burden. She wished I was dead and discussed all the things she would do if I were gone. I loved her more than anything, yet I meant nothing to her. We were married for 13 years. Now I have been divorced for 1.5 years. Story 20. I saw her Instagram direct message history to my best friends from school about a week before my birthday. I knew she was planning some sort of surprise for my 21st birthday, but getting all of my childhood best friends back from when I was 5 years old up to secondary school to surprise me by knocking on my door before we went downstairs together was the icing on the cake. Yes, I knew 1 or 2 of them were coming, so it wasn't completely a surprise, but I wasn't ready for the scale of it. She invited people I had just mentioned in passing and whom she had never met before. It was definitely a massive boost to an already strong relationship. It showed me just how much she listens and how much she cares. Story 21. I was using his phone when mine had died, and I have a habit of closing apps. He had 1 million open, and it was driving me nuts, so his Reddit was open. He doesn't post much, just follows and likes a bunch of woodworking and bushcrafting subreddits. But the few posts he commented on were about me. It made my heart feel so happy I wanted to vomit. My favorite comment was about someone planning Valentine's Day for their partner. He said something like, "One Valentine's Day my wife surprised me with a giant blanket fort. She had her parents watch our daughter, bought all my favorite snacks and sushi for dinner, had Lord of the Rings ready to play, and made a pillow nest on the floor inside the fort. Best wife ever." He doesn't have social media and isn't one for writing letters or cards. He doesn't make a big show of his affections for me, so to see him gushing about me online was so touching. I love that guy. Story 22. There was a photo album filled with pictures of me and our son titled, My Perfect Men. There were pictures I didn't even know about, him helping me wash the car, us lying on the couch, him teaching me Minecraft, and me helping him ride a bike. I was a mess for a while. I cried ugly but happy tears. I had no idea I was loved so deeply by her. My wife is quiet and introverted. She didn't grow up in an environment that was outwardly loving. I wasn't snooping at all, but asked her to share some recent pictures of our son after a sports day at his school. I saw her in a different light after that. Our already good marriage reached a level I didn't even know was possible. Story 23. Left her laptop open, and I saw a folder called Secret Stuff. Momentary panic followed, and I couldn't help myself. It was literally just thousands of pictures of our dogs. Story 24. Notes app with the title Must Read. It is a long list of things he should do when we have an argument, almost as if he is talking to himself, and it is always followed by a compliment about me. One entry states, ask her for a couple of minutes to compose and calm down, because you might say things you don't mean out of frustration. She is very sweet, understanding, and caring. Your baby doesn't deserve to cry. It might seem like the bare minimum to others, but he has always struggled mentally with dealing with negative emotions. Although we are adults and each other's firsts, it's a constant learning process. He is improving a lot, but sometimes he is hard on himself. Writing this makes me emotional, but I am very proud of him for going beyond his limits and stepping out of his comfort zone. Story 25. I am not one to go through my partner's phone. However, one time, when we were getting back together, she asked to see my phone, which I gave her. When I asked to see hers, she became defensive and refused to show it to me. In the end, we did not get back together. Story 26. After a year of remaining moderately stoic, I confided in her about some emotional torment I was experiencing and broke down in tears. A few hours later, I found messages to her friend describing how unstable and emotional I was. That was the last time I ever showed any feelings, and I ended the relationship 6 months later. Story 27. Text messages to a female friend expressing his love for her. He was a horrible person who did awful things to me, but those messages to her were a painful reminder until I found hard evidence of him physically cheating. Additionally, he is my ex. We broke up in 2019. Story 28. I found a hidden folder on his phone with screenshots of other girls' Instagram stories. Girls we both knew. Some were mutual friends. None of it was overtly sexual, but the captions he added to the pictures were disturbing. Comments like, "She doesn't even know what I do to her," were particularly unsettling. Felt violating. Not because he cheated, but because I saw a side of him that made my skin crawl. He was objectifying women he smiled at in real life, including people I cared about and was friends with, interacting with them regularly. I never said a word. I quietly started planning my exit and informed my friends. I have not seen him since. He deleted his social media accounts, and I have no idea what happened to him. Story 29. A message to an old college friend, expressing that she was too selfish to be a wife and mother, and wishing I had only myself to worry about. Everything made so much sense after that. I am now a happily divorced single dad who has made more progress in 4 years than I did in the 10 years before her. Story 30. He sent multiple texts to his brother stating he was considering breaking up with me at different times over the past year. I had no idea he felt that way. I instantly lost faith in the relationship and broke up shortly after. Story 31. Photos of her talking with her ex about the amazing experiences they were sharing, discussing how it's perfect because she will divorce me soon and take everything. She took nothing. I divorced her. I'm not bitter. Story 32. His mom texted him, and a notification popped up on his TV. I had to see it after I saw she was talking about me, saying negative things because she was upset I set a boundary regarding the amount of drinking I'm comfortable with my 4-year-old being around before we decide to leave gatherings. She is an alcoholic and became very drunk and angry when I established that boundary. However, I noticed that he really stood up for me and addressed her behavior. He said some caring things about me, which showed me how much he has come to trust me and how far he has progressed with his own drinking. He has grown to value not hurting others by indulging in his own vices, and this experience significantly highlighted how much he has changed and how beneficial therapy has been for him. Story 33. Not me, but my sister-in-law mentioned that her then-boyfriend, now husband, handed her his phone to check the weather or an order status. He accidentally left it open on his investing app, and she noticed there was an obvious 3 to 4 million in his account at about 35 years old. That was just one app, probably not his entire portfolio. She never mentioned it, but a month or two later, as things got more serious between them, he said, Hey, we need to have a talk. She was worried but replied, okay, what is it? He then said, I'm privately wealthy and I want to marry you. If we continue this relationship, you probably don't have to worry about money. Fast forward a few years. They are married and have a child. My sister-in-law earns a six-figure salary working in finance. He quit his job but opened a business doing custom woodworking, which was his hobby before quitting. So everyone stays busy. He is a very cool and grounded guy, just with a lot of money. My wife's side of the family is quite successful, and this realization makes me aware that I'm probably the lowest income earner among her siblings and their spouses. She has 4 siblings. It's a bit disheartening for me, but I can laugh about it. Story 34. Not partner, but family. We have a family group on WhatsApp. One day, I realized that people had stopped talking as much. They didn't stop completely, but the conversation was much less frequent. I thought it was because life was getting busy and people were using WhatsApp less. One day, my aunt asked me to fix something on her phone. I took a look and saw that they had created another group without me, and it was full of recent messages. Story 35. Porn featuring women with my body type. I am a little pudgy, with a set of heavy natural breasts. Frankly, it helped me let go of some insecurities and feel more comfortable during intimacy. I finally accepted that when he says he likes me the way I am, he means he likes me the way I am, and I appreciate that. Story 36. Way back in the 70s, I found a letter she had written about me to her older sister. It was very flattering, describing me as tall, handsome, smart, funny, and a good kisser with good qualities. It made me feel great when she gave her approval, and her little sister and I became a couple. We are still together 50 years later. Story 37. I never went through a partner's phone, but one time, an ex let me read his emails to provide context about how crazy and mean his ex-wife was to him. He wanted me to read them. I found several exchanges between him and a few of his exes. Turned out he was the problem. He played the victim in every disagreement, called them derogatory names, and then wondered why they didn't want to see him again. He even contacted one of his ex's family members after she blocked him, trying to reach out to her. It was absolutely insane that he volunteered that information to me. It didn't take long for him to use the same manipulative tactics on me, or perhaps I was just more aware of his behavior. Story 38. I saw a message to her sister saying that I was the most important person in her life and had saved her from a life of addiction and abuse. When I saw the message, we had only been dating for about 4 months. It has now been 21 years since I saw that message, and I have never let her go, and I never will. Story 39. I saw a message to his friend confessing that he was saving money to leave me and move out of our apartment before letting me know he wanted to break up with me. Story 40. The night my significant other proposed, we went to see The Hobbit in the theater. He asked me to look up the tickets in his email, and I saw an engagement ring email confirmation. Despite this, I was still very flustered when it happened. Story 41. Thanks for letting me see you the other day. You know just how to make me feel better. If I had seen our future together, I never would have married him. I read those words once, and I still can't unsee them. Story 42. A picture of a person with a coworker of the opposite gender, hugging closely, was sent in a group chat. People commented on how great they looked together and remarked on what a cute couple they made. Not a single comment from my ex about me or our relationship. We were together for 5 years. Story 43. We broke up, and a week later, a friend of mine sent me screenshots of chats with her. She claimed that we had broken up a few weeks before the actual breakup and that I was controlling and violent. Anyone who knew me understood that this was untrue, thankfully. Story 44. Seeing her defend me in her family group, threatening to break contact with her entire family if they keep speaking negatively about me. She told them how happy she is with me and how much I helped her gain self-confidence, which they always try to undermine. And amusingly enough, she mentioned what a great cook I am. After that, she lashed out at them, calling out her family's poor marriages and dishonest relationships. I love that woman and I'm never going to let her go. I cried a bit when I accidentally read all of it. Story 45. The relationship was already deteriorating with my ex when I noticed she had left her phone open to a conversation with a fellow student as she was returning to school. She was essentially broke, and I was covering all living expenses. She didn't get along with my parents, who were very generous. My dad was visiting and invited us out for dinner. The text to the other girl was just complaining about my relationship with my parents and how close we are. She didn't want to see my dad but was more than happy to use his money for dinner. I suspected she resented my parents for their wealth, especially since her family struggled financially, but I didn't realize the extent of it or how she would discuss it with others. We broke up about 2 months later. Story 46. I read the emails exchanged between my ex-husband and the woman who contributed to the end of our marriage, where they were planning a road trip and romantic getaway after their business trip. I have strong feelings about this situation. Our son graduates in a month, and I will no longer have to communicate with you. Story 47. The amount of pornography in his files was overwhelming. He had hours of paid content featuring specific types of videos. Meanwhile, we barely had intimacy. I loved him deeply, but my perception of him changed when I discovered he was attracted to something I could never understand. Story 48. In high school, I had a boyfriend whom I suspected was cheating on me. Turns out he did try to cheat on me but got rejected. Honestly, that hurt my ego much more than if he had just cheated, especially at 15. Not only was I dating someone disrespectful, I was dating someone that nobody wanted. Story 49. Some thoughts on the idea that every boy should be circumcised without anesthesia to teach them respect. I ended that relationship immediately. Story 50. His secret Reddit account revealed that he was sexting women from inappropriate Snapchat groups shortly after taking my virginity. Story 51. My ex told me not to worry about his female friends in our friend group. The thing is, these women were overly friendly to me. They seemed very nice, but I could tell it wasn't genuine when they talked to me. My intuition is usually right, but I ignored it until one day when I had to use his computer. I looked through a strange folder with a suspicious name, and in that folder were hundreds of nudes and videos of them together, or just the women he told me not to worry about. I was shocked. He didn't know I saw that. I packed my bags, left, and never went back. I also blocked him. Story 52. During COVID-19, we had a long-distance relationship because we were both still living with our parents. She found a job, but I didn't want to risk getting one because my dad was vulnerable to the virus. She used to tell me about the new friends she was making at work. Things started to cool off between us, and eventually, she broke up with me. Her reason was that she didn't feel good being in a relationship with her phone. Time passed, and she came back into my life, but something always felt off. Eventually, the pandemic ended, and we started spending time together again. One night, I was at her place. She was asleep, and I was still wondering why she had been acting so strange during COVID-19 and what really happened during our breakup. I checked her Google Photos from the dates when all of this happened, and everything was there. She had been in a relationship with a guy from that job while she was still with me. Eventually, she broke up with me and started dating that guy, but they broke up because he was unkind, as I later found out from one of her friends. There were pictures of them together, including some in bed. It was devastating. I never told her that I found those pictures, but I broke up with her. I guess she eventually came to that conclusion. This happened in 2021, but I still feel strange about relationships to this day. I prefer being alone, and I'm afraid of commitment because of that experience. Story 53. Personal ads on gay sites state they are straight but curious. I am with a partner, so it needs to be discreet. Then I found a large bag of women's underwear. Whatever floats your boat, but be true to yourself, my friend. Story 54. I was involved in an on and off friends with benefits situation. He always claimed he wanted more, but didn't have the time to give me the relationship I deserved. I was at his place, and we were having another argument. He looked me in the eye and told me he loved me. I already knew I didn't believe it, but I was still foolish enough to stay over. His phone lit up while he was asleep. The notifications didn't reveal who it was, but they showed they were responses from a dating site. I wasn't shocked or upset. I felt nothing, which made me realize it was okay to move on, and I finally did. Story 55. I found a folder with 21 additional folders in it. 20 contained women's names, and one was labeled Hit List. It contained pictures of women he had dated, videos of them engaged in intimate acts, and screenshots he had taken. The Hit List folder included photos of young women, not underage but inappropriate for a man in his early 50s. This was the end of our marriage, and I realized it as soon as I discovered the folder. The screenshots provided the proof I needed that he had never been faithful to me at any point in our relationship. I also found evidence that he was trying to connect with someone while I had to go to the hospital for surgery. This clearly illustrated what a terrible person he was. Every time I suspected something was going on, he manipulated me emotionally, insisting, "You need to learn to control your thoughts, and don't let your mind go there." This still makes me incredibly angry to think about, and I truly hope that someone holds him accountable for what he put me through. Story 56. I was dating a guy that I really liked, enough that I had initially overlooked some red flags. We were spending the night together, and he fell asleep early. His phone kept buzzing, and I saw a familiar name on the screen, his coworker he had mentioned a few times. It was too early in the relationship for me to be looking through his phone, but it was right there, and I couldn't stop myself. There was so much cringe flirting and pathetic pickup attempts at this young woman, and I got so creeped out that I just left. He was in his 30s. I never saw him again. Story 57. A previous partner and I used shared notes to communicate dinner plans, shopping lists, upcoming dates, and effectively anything we didn't want to lose in the sea of texts we sent throughout the day. About a year into our relationship, she shared a note that read, "I keep telling myself I love him, but lately, I'm not sure if I really even want him. I think I'm just confused," with my name written all over it. I never mentioned I saw it, and it vanished from our shared notes later that day. To this day, I don't know if it was unintentional or if she wanted me to take a hint. We were together for another 4 months before we ended things because she had found somebody else. I don't see relationships as wasted time, but I'm much more cautious about the words love and confused being used together now. Story 58. I didn't find anything on my partner's phone, but I found evidence on my phone that my partner had been deleting the contacts and text conversations I had with anyone who had a feminine name. It wasn't as if I was talking to women she was particularly suspicious of. She was just excessively possessive and didn't want me to communicate with any other women. I first noticed it when she deleted my cousin as a contact. That same partner would engage in strange behavior, like stalking the social media profiles and histories of any women I was friends with online or in real life, and then try to build cases against them to me about why I shouldn't associate with them, sending me screenshots of posts they had made years earlier that she disagreed with. In any case, our relationship didn't last very long. Story 59. I went through his texts and discovered that he had been in a secret relationship with our high school biology teacher for almost a decade. We had only been together for 2 of those years, but as I read those texts, he instantly became a stranger to me. We lasted about 3 more months before my distrust evolved into a cycle of toxicity, and we ended the relationship. Story 60. I struggle with many physical and mental challenges, which is important in relation to what I discovered. One day, my fiancé asked me to look for something in their notes app. I noticed one titled "Help Them," and my curiosity got the better of me. I absolutely fell in love with what I found. Inside was my fully detailed care plan that my mental health team had given them for when I have particularly difficult days. It included everything from the foods I consider safe to how to get my service dog to perform tasks under their direction instead of mine, as well as which medications and treatments are effective at different times. In the past, my parents have been the only ones to take my care plans seriously. I've never told my fiancé that I saw it, and that was nearly 2 years ago. But since then, it has solidified for me and my family that I am truly marrying the right person. Story 61. Long conversations and a history of phone calls lasting over an hour with his ex, whom he claimed he wasn't talking to anymore, were concerning. In some of the messages, he expressed complaints about me, and she encouraged him to leave me. I stayed in the relationship for over a year after discovering this, but I never trusted him again. He still doesn't know I saw his phone. We broke up because he couldn't control his temper. Although this was years ago, it still makes me upset when I think about it. I will never be with someone I don't trust again. Story 62. A long time ago, I discovered that my girlfriend was not going to the job she claimed to have. Instead, she was meeting an older man who owned a construction company to be his sugar baby. They were involved in a sexual relationship which really affected me. Additionally, her phone was constantly blowing up while she was passed out next to me after we had been drinking. I picked up her phone to check for any emergencies, and it turned out to be the man messaging her. Story 63. I really try hard to respect my girlfriend's privacy, but I have supervision and can read entire paragraphs at a glance. One time, I happened to see her telling one of her best friends how much she loved being with me and how safe and happy she felt. A decade of difficult relationships still gives me the occasional scare, but I feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Story 64. We had been together for almost 2 years. We were on vacation with my parents, and my phone had died, so I asked to borrow his to look something up online that my mom wanted. Right as his phone left his hands, a message popped up from my love in Arabic. He knew I was bilingual, but I guess he forgot that Arabic is one of the 6 languages I speak. The messages were a mix of English and Arabic, and the moment I saw the message, I opened the text thread, and my heart dropped. The messages went back almost the entire time we were together. I marked the message as unread and exited the app. I was so enraged. I remember wishing he had just slept with her instead because seeing those messages hurt so much. I never saw him the same way again, and it took me years to get over him. We ended things about a month later, and he had to explain to his mother why we weren't together. She messaged me later and apologized for her son, who couldn't seem to get it together. I ended up telling her what I saw, and she promised she would never mention it. But she knew who the girl was and hates her to this day, even though they didn't end up together. His parents still send me happy holiday messages now 10 years later. She also knew he had a girlfriend. Story 65. When my husband asked me to be his girlfriend, he created a playlist titled, "Hope I'm Dating Tori by the time I play this playlist." He played it after picking me up and taking me to the restaurant to make it official. 5 years later, we were on a road trip. He was driving and asked me to play some music from his Spotify. There it was, "Hope I'm engaged to Tori by the time I play this playlist." I was surprised but tried to remain composed. I noticed he had made it 3 months earlier. He used it 2 months later when he proposed. He had planned that proposal for months and arranged for people to fly in from all over the country to attend a surprise engagement party where both playlists were played. Story 66. My ex took a phone call while I was making dinner for him when we had just started dating. He didn't know that I could understand his language, and I saw a woman's name come up on the screen before he answered. A short conversation ensued. He lied to her about where he was and what he was doing, claiming he was at the pub with a male friend, before making an excuse to hang up. I contemplated whether to confront him about it. It happened again a month later when we were getting ready for bed. He told her he didn't feel like talking and hung up. During the time between these phone calls, he explained that she was a girl he'd dated back in his country and had done long distance with for a while. He had ended it some months before, but she was still clinging. She wasn't happy when she found out I was in the picture, and the contact increased because she wanted his attention. He didn't know how to handle it, so he made excuses until she got the hint and moved on. I got a chance to look at his phone once, and because I had suspicions about this girl and whether what he told me was the truth, I clicked on their chat. It contained only birthday and Christmas messages and his one-word answers to her attempts at conversation. I realized then that I had nothing to worry about. Story 67. This was before smartphones, but my girlfriend at the time had her email left open on her desktop. I saw an email to her best friend about me while she was in the shower. I didn't mean to click on it. I tried really hard not to be nosy, but I saw my name, so I read the email as I was feeling insecure due to past trauma. I'm glad my instinct to check was right. Some of my friends had warned me that this girl was too pretty for me, coming from a place of genuine concern. What I read shocked me. This girl, now my ex-girlfriend, was gushing to her friend about how she felt in love for the first time. She went on and on about how I was perfect for her and that she'd never felt so safe and understood. And I was the one. However, she mentioned that I lacked confidence. I knew she had dated a model before dating me, who was slightly above average, but she was willing to deal with that fear she expressed to her friend. Long story short, she's my ex-fiancée and now my wife of 21 years. I never told her I saw that email, but her words and actions have made me the most confident husband and a happy person. Story 68. He read texts with the previous girl on his phone during a device exchange he initiated because of his trust issues. She was upset he had been intimate with her without a condom when she had asked him not to. He denied ever doing that. He left the next morning. Story 69. My ex shared pictures of my private parts in a group chat with her friends. There were also other private parts in there, presumably belonging to their boyfriends. I never said anything, but I gradually stopped making time for her, and she eventually broke up with me after she noticed I was avoiding her. Story 70. I'm usually not a fan of snooping, but this time I couldn't help myself. I was on a trip with my girlfriend, and we were using her phone to map our first destination and to listen to a playlist she created. She left her phone in the car to go to the restroom while I filled up the car with gas. I saw a text from her friend saying, "Just go have a drink with him. Trust me, he's the type of man you really should be with." I was stunned. Her friend was trying to set her up with someone while we were in a relationship. This was someone we had gotten pretty close to and had over for holidays. I thought my girlfriend and I had a good relationship. It turns out her friend was never a fan of me and had been trying to get my girlfriend to break up with me for over a year. I read the entire conversation, and my girlfriend admitted that I'm not really her type, and that she wished I was more traditional and more masculine. Her previous boyfriends were ex-military, police officers, firemen, athletes, you get the picture, but she also said she wouldn't change a thing about me and loved me for who I am. I had mixed feelings about it and brought it up after the trip. She came clean and said she was never unfaithful, but admitted she wished I was more like the men she previously dated. We broke up amicably that night. We reconnected a few years later. She has since cut that friend out of her life, and we've both grown a lot as people. We just decided to start dating exclusively again a few days ago. Life is wild sometimes. Story 71. After strong suspicion that she was being unfaithful, I checked her phone while she was sleeping. I found inappropriate images in her trash folder. It was the confirmation I needed, but I never told her I looked at her phone. Instead, I presented all the other evidence that led me to that conclusion, and she started crying. She never actually admitted it, but after that, she didn't resist the breakup. She knew. Story 72. We had a difficult relationship, and I sometimes had to plead for intimacy. I found a message to a friend on his iPad that mentioned him spending the night at a strip club. I realized I had no idea who this person was. We are no longer together. Story 73. After she deleted every female contact from my phone while I slept, despite being the one who cheated, things were great for a month. Then curiosity got the best of me, and I found out that she still had him on Snapchat, saved under a woman's name. It was like the ending of a soap opera. There was no anger or yelling, just acceptance as I handed her phone back to her. I received all the counseling I needed because men have fragile egos, and I needed to work through my issues. Meanwhile, I discovered what the term gaslighting means through a first-hand demonstration. Story 74. I found out I didn't exist and that she lied to her family, friends, and job about where she spent her time. She left her car at the airport and called a friend to pick me up. I thought we had something, but I never looked back. Story 75. When my ex and I were deciding whether to stay together, I saw her group text with all of the Girl Scout mothers speaking negatively about me, essentially ruining my reputation for no good reason other than she was upset with me. After I saw that, I stopped trying to maintain our relationship. Story 76. I saw her Tetris high score on the app, and it led to two consequences. 1. I knew she was the one because dedication, passion, and commitment are what I love. I realized we would never play against each other. I'm decent at almost every game genre, but Tetris is my Achilles heel. That was almost 10 years ago, and now we are married with 3 children. Story 77. Her flirting with a friend of hers was something I had never seen before. She was openly begging him and enticing him with every tool in a woman's arsenal. If she had spoken to me like that, I would have put a ring on her finger within 30 minutes. But no, I guess she likes everyone but me. Story 78. I had a sneaking suspicion after we started becoming less intimate. I found out that my ex was messaging numerous other women with flirty comments and some explicit requests on social media as early as September. We started dating in August, just a month into our relationship. Seeing those messages sent me into a full-blown panic attack, and I had to go to the emergency room because my heart rate was through the roof. I loved him more than anything, and I eventually learned that he was also cheating on me with others. This experience took a toll on my self-esteem and fundamentally changed my perception of love and relationships. Story 79. My girlfriend from my early 20s with whom I lived was not very sexual. I had my suspicions that she was in love with her friend from high school. They had hooked up a few times before we met, but he joined the Navy. One night, I became suspicious and looked at her phone. I found a photo of her in lingerie. She would never send anything like that to me. She was very shy and quiet. Her reasoning was, I was going to send it to you, but I got bashful and didn't. We broke up and she married the guy I knew she was in love with. They have been married since. Story 80. My fiancé's period tracking app marked all the dates when she had sexual encounters during the time we were supposedly exclusive. Story 81. When I was around 18 or 19, I went with my then-boyfriend to the Apple store to get him a new phone. We had been together for about 4 or 5 months at this point. While at the Apple store, the technician helping us was having trouble transferring my boyfriend's data from his old phone to his new phone, and the estimated time for the transfer was around 6 hours. The technician asked if he had a lot of pictures. My ex told them he had around 16,000 pictures. He opened the app and I was standing at an angle behind him. I don't think he saw that I could see. Out of those 16,000 pictures, at least 11,000 of them were nudes of random girls. His pornography addiction eventually ruined our relationship. Story 82. He knew he was cheating and hated me. I saw the name Osborne appear on his phone with a message saying, "I miss you," and he claimed it was his cousin before he snatched the phone away. Story 83. He actually showed this to me with no snooping involved. It was a pros and cons list of dating me. The pros were all very short and simple. Cute, kind, great, fun, and both love books. The cons list was very in-depth. Her jokes are hard to understand. When I'm with her, she's the only one in the world. But when I'm away from her, I want to date other people. She doesn't make as much money as I want in a partner. She is sometimes awkward around my friends, and they don't know what to do with her. And I'm embarrassed of her when she makes jokes my friends don't get. I thanked him for showing me the list and asked what he wanted to do about it. He said nothing, he just thought I should see it. I said okay and started keeping a small calendar to see how long it would take him to break up with me. 57 days. Story 84. I posted this before, but I'll share the story again. I was dating a girl many years ago. We were in love, at least I was. I'm not one to snoop, but while we were making out, she got up to go to the bathroom. For a couple of months, I had this odd feeling that she was growing distant. She left her phone in my line of sight. While she was using the restroom, she received a text that said, "Are you done with him yet? When are you coming over?" It broke my heart. We had something special, and after that, I left and never spoke to her again. It's been at least 15 years. From what I gathered, she ended up dating that guy for a couple of years. Eventually, she married a friend who was always around while we were dating. We have mutual friends all these years later, and from what I understand, she has a beautiful family and is happy. I also have a beautiful family and am very happy. It's crazy how life works out. Story 85. This doesn't completely count because I told him later, as I was embarrassed. However, I saw a text conversation where my husband, who was then my boyfriend, was telling his best friend that he was going to propose and when. Story 86. I saw he was sending my photos and videos he took of our intimate moments to his friends and a few coworkers. Story 87. Neither my ex, the mother of my child, and I realized that her phone was synced to the family iPad. This was crucial information, especially when she was having an affair and taking intimate photos in a hotel while I was home looking after our 2-year-old son. I saw everything. Story 88. I don't even know why I was looking at his phone. I wasn't suspicious or anything, but we had just lost a stillborn baby, and he wouldn't talk to me at all, so I guess I just wanted to see if he was saying anything to his friends about it. It was no secret either, as I had posted about it on social media and tagged him, so all our friends knew. Our daughter was stillborn on a Friday, and on the Sunday it was Father's Day. We left the hospital late Friday night. We had 2 little kids, both under 3, and I had spent the whole time in the hospital alone because he didn't want to see her. As soon as we left the hospital, we had to go pick our kids up. So I was sad, lonely, and just wanted to stay in bed, but I couldn't because I had kids to look after. I asked my mom to bring him a bottle of his favorite alcohol when she came to visit on Saturday, as we lived far from any shops. Considering what I had been through the day before, I didn't want to leave the house but still wanted him to have something for Father's Day. She brought out an unopened bottle that she had at home, intended as a gift for someone else but never given, so I was really grateful to her because now at least I had something to give him. A few weeks later, he left his phone at home, so I decided to see if he had been talking to his friends about our loss because he just yelled at me when I tried to discuss it. I found a message from one of his good friends sending him a lovely Father's Day message, knowing what we had gone through. My partner's reply expressed disappointment because usually I buy him the large bottle of his favorite whiskey, but this year he just received the standard size bottle, and he complained about feeling ripped off with presents. My heart broke even more than it already was, just knowing how little he cared about me and what I had been through. I shouldn't have been shocked. He made it pretty obvious he didn't care at all. Reading him say those things to other people about me just really hurt. Story 89. I was not on my phone but was helping my partner move into my place and was moving things out for her while she was at work. I found 3 used condoms behind her bed, and the only 2 people she was officially with while living in town were me and her ex-husband. She had moved to my city from another state with her ex, got divorced, and we got together within the same time frame. I left town for family matters a couple of times while we were together and returned to strange vibes and friends telling me stories about her going wild in town. We only lasted 2 months after that. In the 11 months of dating before we lived together, I kept telling myself there were red flags everywhere. That moment I discovered the condoms was a wake-up call, but we were already moving in together, so I dismissed it as part of her past and hoped everything would be fine. She ended up leaving me for a guy she met a month before we lived together and then moved across the country with him 2 months later. I never told her how I felt because I wanted it to work out, but deep down, I knew it wasn't going to last. I was in love and didn't want to lose it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.